Hey everyone, welcome back to the Art to Life podcast. As I shared last week, I'm so excited about my next big project, which is the second annual immersive free Art of Your Life workshop. It starts Monday, March 3rd and goes all the way till March 7th. And I would love all of you to come. And again, it's free. And in this, I'm going to be teaching the first steps of my new bloom practice and 3 essential art making principles. It's going to take you and your art to the next level. So really, if you'd like to join this free workshop, go to artlifefree.com and you can sign up. I'm really excited about it. Put so much work into it. I have been taking the last few weeks off to focus on it. And so I'm resharing from our archives pivotal podcast conversations that really informed this free workshop. It led me to the discoveries that I'll be sharing with you in this upcoming workshop. But it's also the ones I would love you to listen to in preparation for coming to attending to the workshop. So today, I want to start with revisiting a really powerful episode called How to Drop Back into Your Art. In it, I cover 3 common challenges that arise in the absence of making our art. Studio disconnection, quick confidence loss, like losing your confidence, and then as well as the third one that's kind of sets in when you haven't been making art, the comparison trap. I'm sure these are no strangers to you if you make art. But anyway, time away makes us more likely to be overwhelmed by comparisons and all these challenges that come up. The core message is really clear. You don't want to wait for the perfect conditions to return to your practice. And this is why I'm really putting this out today. I want you to get primed for what's coming. So starting with small, manageable steps, like listen to this episode and just let the momentum build naturally. The resistance is normal, but having strategies to work through it can maintain and start up your creative practice again. Anyway, I hope you find this episode helpful in getting your art making muscle ready for the upcoming Art of Your Life workshop. It all starts March 3rd, and you can join now by going to artlifefree.com. Okay, I will talk to you really soon. Thanks. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Art to Life podcast. I just came back from a kind of a break from the studio, and I walked in here this morning and it felt kind of weird and like I haven't been here forever, and I felt kind of disconnected to what I was making. So I thought I would talk about this because I've heard from a lot of other artists that this happens when you take a break, when you are not involved in your art for just the littlest while. It tends to kind of go off on its own. You feel disconnected from it. You feel a bit like a stranger in your own studio. So I thought I would talk about this today and you know why it happens and how to come back to your art, what I do. And this is just, from my experience and from friends' experiences, because I have struggled with this forever. And now, not so much, because I know what to do to come back into it. So if you've been away, if you're still trying to come back from your vacations, all the distractions of the holidays, this might be a great episode for you to check out. What I want to do is I kind of want to break this into 2 parts, why this happens, I think why it happens, and also then how to course correct, how to fix this, how to work around this. So let me just get into this first, why this happens. There's kind of 3 primary reasons, and I thought I'd shoot this in my studio because part of the solution here is just being in the studio, how to come back into this. So I thought, well, okay, that's good. I'll come into the studio and shoot this. So I think what the first piece is that we go away, and usually for me, going away means I'm not doing art, I'm not doing any work, I'm not even thinking about it, I'm just disconnecting completely. And this is maybe what you'd call a vacation. I don't know. It's just this period where I'm not doing anything. And And when we stop doing that, it's very comfortable to not be making art. And there is something that is present in the studio, and there is uncertainty in here, in this place, because I'm involved in making something that I'm not entirely confident it's going to turn out. If I'm actually pushing myself a little bit, I'm going into terrain that I don't know about. And that's the whole point. I'm learning something. I'm always learning something. I don't want to do last year's work. I already know how to do that. There's resistance to that, especially when you're not in doing it every day. When you're making art all the time, you just get kind of really used to this. It's just like all the days run together, and you're just making it. It's not a big deal. But when you stop, part of why it feels so good is that it's just not challenging. Your life, your creativity, it's not being pushed. It's just nice to not do anything and just walk around and take things in instead of having to push things out, to give out energy. You can just absorb it. So that's the first part of this, that there is unknown in this, and that is hard. And I think it's okay to kind of think about that and pat yourself on the back that that's what you're involved in. If you're making things, this is part of it, but it is very different than other things in life. And this is challenging, especially when you haven't been doing that. So that's the wall that's the big one for me that I hit when I walk in here. And I don't know, it's like, how were those last paintings turning out? And is it really that much better than it was 6 weeks ago? And, all the questions, it just feels like I'm kind of disconnected from it. And I don't really entirely remember what I was doing. And it takes some time to drop back into it. So that's the first one. There's unknown, there's uncertainty in this. The second one is that once you stop, even for a week, the evidence of you not doing it, the lack of evidence of your art, of, I just made this, there's another thing I made there. When you stop, it's incredibly fast, and this is how it is for me, and I've talked to a lot of artists about this, that the self-confidence, it kind of lessens over time. It diminishes rather quickly when you're not making art. It gets, if I stop for a month, I'm really far away from it. And my confidence, and it takes some time for me to kind of get back into this. The reframe on this and the kind of cool hint that is needed, that is positive around this, is that all you really need to do to kind of get back into this is you just need to do it. You just need to do some aspect of this. You need to play in it. You need to, even 20 minutes naturally refills your tank. It doesn't even have to be related to the problem you're making. Just the act of making something, putting marks on a picture, working in a sketchbook, anything is all that's needed. That you return to the practice, that this is a practice of coming back in, and the artifact of whatever you're doing, it's not so important. That the practice of doing gives you momentum. It gives you confidence. It gives you ideas. The whole thing works if you're doing something. And that's why, that first one about there's this sort of unknown aspect, there's this uncertainty. It's because there's nothing around that you've recently made. There's a time lapse. And I've noticed when I am away for a while that, and this is another sort of cool hint, reframe, that we think it's like, I just need a break. But it doesn't take long for me. Just a couple days. I was away for about a week. And On the third day, I found myself doodling, which led to giving me some ideas. And I was just like naturally back into it. I think we want to be in this art making mode. I know I do. I prefer this way of being. As soon as I get a little break from it, I am back into it. I just naturally want to go back into it. It's exciting. It's like a more edgier way of existing. You know, it's a certain approach to living that comes from a little bit of facing this risk, facing this uncertainty. So that first one, you know, that there's uncertainty in here, holds us back. The second one is that when you stop, you don't have recent evidence. And the cool reframe around that is you need to just do it a little bit, just to need to do something. And then I think the other third piece of this is why we stop. When we've stopped, why it's hard to kind of come back in, is that we have time to look at what everyone else is doing, that there's a comparison that goes on. I went to some museums over the break, which was so inspiring, so great. But it also made me feel like I was just not progressing because there's all this incredible work, and it feels like all those people are successful, or scrolling on Instagram. It's like everyone's doing it, everyone's posting, everyone's, and you can easily, if you're not focused on what you're doing and you let that drift to the side a little, you start overly focusing on what everyone else is doing. And for me, at least, that's sort of a real dangerous cul-de-sac. I need the fire of what I'm making. I need to be engaged in what I'm doing. And that kind of takes a lot of my time. And then, of course, we want to look at what people are doing. It's inspiring. It's really great. Of course. But it is something that we have to be careful of. So I think those breaks, and we need the breaks, by the way, we need to stop. But the challenge of coming back in is something that can extend for too long of a time. I've had it where in the past I've tried to get back into it, and it can last for a week. It can last for 10 days. It can last for a couple weeks where it's just not going well. I'm not really enjoying myself, So this is important, how to understand what happens to us as creative, as makers, when we stop, even for a brief period of time. So I want to talk a bit about now, how we can drop back in, how do we do it? And look, there's a million ways, but I have several that I use. And the first one is that, I'm doing it right now. I involve myself in any aspect that's close to this. I don't have to be actually doing this for the benefit to rub off. If there's something I'm doing that's connected to it, I'm kind of doing a double duty thing here where I'm talking about this kind of uncomfortable feeling I'm having in my studio. I wanted to do this just to be with this work and be in this space again and feel comfortable. Anything can work to kind of bring you. All you have to do is get close to it. So, for example, I can paint the edge of this painting. I've already actually done it. I can rearrange those paints over there and fill the bottles up. That was already done. The easy, low-hanging fruit stuff where you don't have to think. It's like, I need to even going and getting new supplies, that's a really good one. Kind of cleaning up, organizing. But certainly talking about what you're doing and looking at it and having a conversation and having someone come over and share what you're making. Anything will work. And so you just need to do the easy thing. Involve yourself in something that's close to it. And the second thing here is to return to that question. It's such an important question, and you want to revisit it all the time. It's the fundamental underlying question that I use in all my coaching, in all my programs, but mostly on me. And that question is, what brings me alive? What is it that lights me up when I'm thinking about making art, when I look at the thing that I'm making, I connect back to where is the energy? Because that's, even if you can't articulate it, that's such a good question, because you can just feel the energy. You don't even have to know why. That's what I love. You can just sense it. Some areas, some of your work you like more than others. Some is really connects to you better. You can just feel the uptick in energy. And liking something is the same thing. You know, it's just, ooh, that's cool. That one area. I'm looking at this work. I come in right now, for example, and I'm thinking about what I want, right? Like I can look at this and connect with what brings me alive, and I can think about what do I want? What does the future want to feel like? What's possible? What can happen for me? What would I love to happen for me in the relationship to the work? So for me, I have been thinking about this, and what I am wanting is work that feels really direct, not fussy, that is fast in a way, that isn't reliant on tons and tons of work and going over it and going over it. You know, that thing of like, I've done like 10 paintings and, you know, there's one at the end, but there's like 10 really good ones. I feel like there's a lot that I can do in my work, and I can stop earlier, right? How much do I have to give in order to get the desired result? And so for me, it's what can I take away? Do I have to give so much in terms of surfaces and color in order to get the results I want? So, you know, what I want is work that feels like me, but am I changing enough? Is that possible for me? Where is the energy? And so it's like that question is so good because it brings all the information, it brings all the direction back to yourself. And that makes it controllable. And it's derived from you, which it should be. Spending some time with that question, you do not have to be actually doing anything. Just go into the studio, go into the space or anywhere actually, and contemplate that and think about it and take notes. Thinking about things that bring you energy, when I describe kind of loosely what I'm after in the work, I get more excited because it's true. It's what I want. It's the most important thing to me. It's what I want to have happen. So of course it matters to me, and of course that brings my energy level up and it keeps me getting engaged. And then the third piece of this that I really love is just simply planning. How now do I get there? What do I need to happen? Who are the people I need to talk to? What kind of materials will I need? There's so much energy in planning the cool thing, planning the thing that brings you alive, spending time on that. Sometimes, you know, I did this big backpack trip with my daughters last year actually, and it was so fun planning it, you know, just figuring out where we're going to go, figuring out I needed to get a new backpack. So that took me down a whole new rabbit hole. And then I went to the store and I had all these great conversations and I saw all these cool things in the store and I got a different tent and, you know, all the food we were going to bring. And it just turned into this really great experience that was a bonus. The trip was amazing, but also the time before the trip. And if you're at all intimidated by going on the trip, you know, jumping in again because you've been away, thinking about planning how you can get it there, thinking about where you're going, right? Thinking about where you're going, where you want to go based on where you've been is how you grow. It's a powerful way to be. It's an important state to be involved in. That is going to create more change than just like, okay, I'm just going to go and try and do this, and I'm not really sure. I mean, we need that. We need to be able to do that, but just a little bit of time thinking in this planning and thinking and reflecting based on your past. Where is it that you want to go? How do I want to grow? So I have noticed, especially lately, that I love planning. I love the whole thing. I like planning courses. I like planning workshops. I like trying to imagine something and then make it. And I can't always get it perfect, but you can do a lot with that. And that planning energy you're not really creating. They're kind of different. There's planning, which is maybe more frontal cortex, more, using your analytical brain. But then there's also creating, the actual making, when I'm just going to go in on this work and I'll be just in a creation mode. Those two modes of being, that planning mode and that creation mode, they're very, very different. And I think they complement each other very well. The framework, the structure for creating benefits from this planning. And the planning would be nothing without the creating. So I think that's a really powerful way to think about, that it's not just about coming to the studio and making something, that you can spend some time planning, thinking, where do I want to go? What lights me up here? A little bit of that mixed in with going at it will get you tremendous results and make a huge difference in coming back in to the studio, as well as the results of what you're making. We're looking to progress, we're looking to not get hung up and stuck. Coming back and hitting resistance is super, super common. So just know that. But you're going to have it every single time. I still have that. I get it all the time. But knowing how to just work through it really quick can make a giant difference in your work. So anyway, you guys, I hope that was helpful. If you are coming back into the studio, I hope that it's going really, really well. And for those of you like me who are taking a little longer to get back into it, I hope this was helpful. Thanks for being here, and I will see you next week on the Art to Life podcast. Okay, bye. Ooh.